Hey folks, how you doing? This is Dan the World Traveler. I say again, Dan the World Traveler. This video is being made in September 2025. Today I'd like to talk to you about a special place called Tallinn, Estonia. But really, I say it's about Tallinn, Estonia, but I think we're going to make this about Estonia in general because it's a great country. No regrets that I visited, and I highly recommend you visit Estonia if you have the means. And we don't all have the means, but I was lucky enough to have the ability to do it, so I did it. So this was around several months ago, at the beginning of the summer of 2025. I took a 8-country tour to Europe. Started in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Netherlands, and Belgium. And so Estonia was one of those 8. So had a great time. I got to Estonia with a ferry because I was already in Finland. So I went from the port, I think it was the port of Helsinki, caught a ferry there to a port in Estonia, which was right there near the center of town in Tallinn, Estonia, the capital city, Tallinn, Estonia. And the ferry went across, I think it was called the Gulf of Finland, I could be wrong. It took a couple hours. But the ferry ride from Helsinki, Finland to Tallinn, Estonia was magnificent. I mean, anything you could want. There was lots of restaurants, lots of coffee shops, lots of bars if you're into that on the ferry. I mean, I was blown away. I was expecting a little boat, to take us across the Gulf of Finland, and but it was actually a pretty darn good experience. But yeah, it was a good time. I wasn't expecting that. It was a pleasant surprise, the ferry. But anyway, about Tallinn, Estonia, very historical place, lots of history. Walking around Tallinn, Estonia, there's a city center where there's lots of magnificent buildings and architecture. You could spend all day there. Of course, I spent a couple hours, and I stopped at a pizza place, had a pizza. It's something I've sort of learned in my travels. If you're not the richest person in the world and you're trying to save money, I would say look for a pizza restaurant, because they're usually my experiences, and I could be wrong, but usually pizzas fill you up. At least they fill me up, and they're usually cheap. I mean, my experience. If a pizza is not that expensive, in my experience, in comparison to other food that you can run into as a tourist. I guess I'll call myself a tourist in this case, but. Pizza. I stopped at a pizza restaurant. It was 20 euros, which was pretty darn good for that part, for around there. And I got a water, and that was that. And euros. That's what they use in Estonia. The language in Estonia. I mean, English you'll be fine. Around Tallinn, Estonia. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about the rest of Estonia, but the capital city, English you'll be 100% okay. You don't have to speak Estonian. Something interesting about Estonian. It's similar, believe it or not, to Finnish. A lot of people think that Finland. There's a lot of people out there who may think Finland is part of Scandinavia. It's not. It's at least what I've heard is Finland is. It's much more related to Estonia, and Finland are much more related linguistically anyway than Sweden and Norway. Like Sweden and Norway are have this sort of the same background linguistically. They're not the same language, of course, but they're related. And same thing with Finland and Estonia. There's a relationship. It's not the same language, but there's a relationship. It's kind of like Latvian and Lithuanian. And Russian is, from what I've heard, is not similar to Estonian. But again, I'm not a linguistics expert. I could be wrong about all this, but that's what I've heard. So, absolutely double check me. Don't take my word for it. That's what I've heard. But Estonia was. Usually when I go to overseas and I stay in a hostel in Europe or anywhere, I usually, pay $20-$30 maybe. Tallinn, Estonia was different. I ended up paying close to 100 euros for a hostel, and it was not even near the city center. It was a hike from the city center to the hostel. It took me about an hour to walk there, and it was not, in a place where all the tourists hang out. I had a very, very authentic experience. I'm proud to say I got to, walk and see where the locals live, the actual Estonian people, walk through their neighborhoods, see the houses where the people live. And I eventually found my hostel, and I, had a good night's sleep there, but they were not, not the typical people that I'm accustomed to seeing in a hostel. They were, I heard a lot of, just regular Estonian people, probably maybe some people from other countries, but didn't hear a lot of English being spoken at a hostel. It just seemed like it wasn't your usual travelers. Let me put it that way. But it was a wonderful experience. I got an authentic. Sometimes it's good to have that. Sometimes it's good to get off the beaten path and see how the people live, the actual Estonian people. And I certainly got that. I certainly had that experience, and it was I never felt unsafe. I mean, I was walking around, the not so rich parts of Tallinn, Estonia, and I never felt, I felt 100% safe. So that I am very happy to say that it's just in my opinion, a very safe country. I didn't have any, I didn't run into any problems. Everybody was really nice and considerate, and I felt welcomed in Estonia. Let me put it that way. The water was good. I didn't have a problem drinking the water. I've heard the tap water in Estonia is fine. There was, but anyway, as I was getting to saying before, is I paid about $100 for that hostel. I think what was going on was there was a concert or something in Tallinn, Estonia. During that time, that may have jacked up the price more than usual. I don't know what happened, but somehow, some way, I ended up paying more for a hostel in Tallinn, Estonia than I thought I was going to. Definitely in comparison to other places in Europe. But I'm not saying that's going to happen to you if you go to Estonia. Like I said, there could have been a concert going on at the time, and that could have jacked up the price of hostels and hotels just for that weekend. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly why the price was so high, but that's kind of what happened. I think after I spent time in Tallinn, Estonia, I went to Riga, Latvia the next day, and I took a Flixbus and saw the Estonian countryside. Very magnificent, and it's just a great experience. Walking around Tallinn, Estonia, going to the coffee shops and the bus stations, to get the Flixbus to go to Riga. Usually, sometimes bus stations don't have that great a reputation. I felt perfectly safe at the bus station in Tallinn. I paid, €7. I got a big, beautiful breakfast with sausage and, coffee. It was great. And again, I didn't come across anybody in Estonia who was any way, hostile. I'm just wonderful people. I had a great experience. And, in my travels in that country, see people from all over the world. So it's a great. I have nothing but good things to say about Estonia, Tallinn, Estonia, and the ferry ride over. So I think that's all I have to say about Estonia at this point. And one more thing: if you do travel to Europe, especially Northern Europe, in that time of year, around the summertime, the sun doesn't go down till about, very late at night, 9, 10, sometimes 11 o'clock at night. So just be ready for that if you go to Northern Europe during the summertime. Anyway, Tallinn, Estonia, this is Dan the World Traveler talking to you about Estonia today. Have a great day. And again, thank you for your time. Have a great day. Dan the World Traveler.